the late 90s, a new subgenre of horror arrived in cinemas. A subgenre built on tension and realism. This subgenre will become a mainstay with films such as The Blair Witch Project, all the way to the recent Paranormal Activity series. These were the birth of the found footage horror films, which have produced many different ones in that subgenre. In the next video, we're going to talk about these various films and the new Hollywood horror. A group of student filmmakers head into the woods of Maine to look for a ghost of a legendary witch. They soon become lost and experience terrifying paranormal events. This film features a tense situation as the film students become more and more terrified and lost. This film culminates in an unanswered question as to the fates of the characters. This film was marketed as real events and convinced many filmgoers to swear the film was real found footage. The marketing was spot on, trying to establish this idea that the film was real. Ultimately, it wasn't, because the actress who starred in The Blair Witch Project would later go on to be in a Steven Spielberg-produced miniseries called Taken, just a few years later. This film really introduced the world to the idea of found footage horror, and would go on to pave the way for future films such as Paranormal Activity. A young married couple start to experience strange occurrences in their home around the time that the husband brings home a film camera to start filming events. As the occurrences progress, they get more and more intense, ultimately leading to a terrifying ending. The film, which actually handles the subject matter correctly for found footage, starts off small, with little things happening here and there, to eventually getting really intense and terrifying. The film would go on to spawn 2 additional sequels and spin-off films, also establishing more of the lore of this story. The second film would go on to connect to the first one in a way to explain why this strange stuff starts happening to this married couple. And without spoiling too much information here, it involves a pact with a possible demon. Please check this one out. It is a really good horror film. Another element of the new wave of horror in recent years is social commentary horror, or that uses social commentary as an underlining current. In this section, we're going to talk about 2 films that truly embody that ideal, and how those films can inform future generations. In the near future of the United States, celebrations happen on a yearly event called The Purge. One night a year, all crime is legal, and there will be no emergency services. The film centers around a security system salesman, Ethan Hawke, and his family on the night of The Purge, where they must survive the night after they save a homeless man who is hiding from some people wanting to kill him. The film does address societal ills of current environment in the United States, such as the wish to do bodily harm to others and violent, toxic society. This film features great cinematography, great twist ending, and the tense nature of the story ratchets it up every scene. The film would later go on to spawn several sequels, including The Purge Election Year, The Purge Anarchy, The First Purge, and others. When Chris, a talented photographer and African-American man, goes to meet his girlfriend's parents in the upstate region of New York, he notices some strange things in the house. The people visiting the party that's going to happen that day are very friendly and beyond nice, which is unnerving, as well as someone he thinks he might recognize acting very strangely. This film creates a high sense of tension as the story progresses, and the film stars Daniel Kaluuya as Chris, Allison Williams, Bradley Whitford, and Catherine Keener. The film uses horror to address subtle horrors of the modern experience for racial minorities, including the group of people who would normally be very friendly publicly but may have nefarious plans beneath the surface. This is a perfect example of social conscience horror, which would also be addressed in other horror films, including earlier ones such as the ones by George Romero. As we have seen in this series of horror, one of the longest lasting genres. From the dawn of the film industry to the newest films, horror will be as much of our film experience as any other genre. When we watch these films, we get terrified and we scream. We close our eyes and we feel the terror. However, when the lights come up in the theater and we are no longer see the terror, this gives us a release from our real world. A world where dark things happen every day, war, violence, and uncertainty. Horror gives us a sense of control over these various things. We get a control over our environment for 2 hours, watching people scream, run in terror. And as we go into the future, and we see more experimental horror films, we must always remember to think about it this way. It's only a movie. It's only a movie. I have been Joseph for Mr. Timeline. If you like this video series and you want to see more, please let me know. Please like, subscribe, and again, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful, safe day.